A young man in a worn suit stood nervously at the reception of a towering glass skyscraper, the kind of building that scraped the clouds and housed dreams. He clutched a crumpled, yellowed envelope in his hand. This was his first time inside, a world away from the one he knew. He finally got the courage to speak to the receptionist, his voice barely a whisper. "I'm here to see Mr. Harrison, the CEO. My father." My father was Leo, the receptionist, after a moment of confusion, recognized the name. Leo, the night janitor. A man who had quietly cleaned these floors for over 30 years. She made the call, her voice laced with a mixture of pity and curiosity. The young man was sent up to the top floor, a place his father had only ever seen after everyone else had gone home. He entered the CEO's office, a vast space with a panoramic view of the city. Mr. Harrison, a man whose face was a permanent mask of stress and ambition, looked up impatiently. "What is this about?" "I'm very busy." The young man took a deep breath and held out the letter. "My father, he passed away last week." "He wanted you to have this." Mr. Harrison took the envelope, annoyed by the interruption. He was in the middle of drafting an email that would announce the termination of nearly a third of his workforce. A brutal, but in his mind, necessary measure to save the company from a financial downturn. He almost tossed the letter aside, but something about the aged paper and the name Leo stopped him. He tore it open. The handwriting was shaky, but neat. As he read, the cold corporate world around him began to dissolve. The letter wasn't a plea or a complaint. It was a story. The script faded into a flashback. It's midnight years ago. The office is dark, save for a single lamp on the CEO's desk. A younger Mr. Harrison is slumped over his desk, head in his hands, the weight of a failing startup crushing him. The door creaks open and Leo, the janitor, enters with his cart. He doesn't say anything at first, just quietly starts cleaning, the soft swish of his mop a calming rhythm in the dead of night. He sees the despair on the young CEO's face. After a few minutes of silence, Leo speaks, his voice gentle. "Tough night, son?" Harrison looks up, surprised. He'd never really noticed the janitor before, not as a person. He just nods, unable to form words. Leo smiles warmly. "My wife used to say, the night is darkest just before the dawn. You look like a man who's building something. Don't give up just because it's dark." Leo then pulls a thermos from his cart. "Coffee's gone cold, I'm sure. This is my special blend. A little bit of cinnamon. Helps you think." He pours a cup and places it on the desk. That small act of kindness, from a man he didn't even know, was a lifeline. Harrison drank the coffee and they talked for nearly an hour. Not as CEO and janitor, but as two men. Leo spoke of his own struggles, of raising a family on a meager salary, of the pride he took in his work. For the first time, Harrison saw the man, not the uniform. Over the next few years, these late-night encounters became a quiet ritual. Whenever Harrison was working late, wrestling with impossible decisions, Leo would appear. He never offered business advice, but he offered something far more valuable: perspective. He'd talk about his son's first day of school, or a funny thing his wife said. He reminded Harrison that outside the cutthroat world of balance sheets and stock prices, there was a world of simple human moments. Leo became his silent mentor, his anchor to reality. The scene shifts. The company is now a massive success. The startup has become an empire. Mr. Harrison is no longer the struggling entrepreneur. He is a titan of industry. But the success has come at a cost. He's become isolated, surrounded by people who either feared him or wanted something from him. The late nights continued, but they were different. They were lonely. Leo still came in, but Harrison was often too busy, too distracted to even look up. Their quiet conversations faded into silence, replaced by the clicking of a keyboard. Harrison had started seeing a uniform again, not a person. The letter explained why Leo never delivered it himself. It was written 5 years ago, on the day Leo decided to retire. He had come to the office, letter in hand, intending to say a proper goodbye. But he saw Harrison on a heated phone call, his face a thundercloud of anger and stress. Leo saw the same man he'd met all those years ago, but the hope in his eyes had been replaced by a hardened weariness. Leo felt he would just be another interruption. He couldn't bring himself to bother the man who seemed to be carrying the world on his shoulders again. So he went home, put the letter in a drawer, and quietly retired. No one at the company even noticed he was gone. The young man in the office watched as the CEO's hands began to tremble. He was holding the envelope, and on the back, where it was sealed, he saw a faint, dark smudge. It was a tear stain. He remembered the night Leo wrote the letter, sitting at their small kitchen table, his hand shaking not from age but from emotion. He was sealing a lifetime of unspoken friendship, a final goodbye he was too humble to deliver in person. Mr. Harrison looked up from the letter, his eyes filled with a forgotten memory. He recognized the handwriting. Not from the letter itself, but from something else. He rummaged through his desk drawer, pulling out an old, dusty planner from his early days. He flipped through the pages, and there it was, a small note tucked inside. "Don't give up. The dawn is coming." It was in Leo's handwriting. A note Leo had left for him after one of their first late-night talks. A note he had kept all these years without ever truly remembering who gave it to him. The CEO looked at the final paragraph of the letter. It read, "I saw you build this company from nothing. I was there. I cleaned the floors you paced on, emptied the trash cans filled with your discarded ideas, and I watched you grow. I am proud of you, son. Never forget the man you were when we first met. He was a good man." He saw people. The words hit Harrison like a physical blow. He remembered Leo's last night. He had passed him in the hallway, head buried in his phone, and hadn't even offered a nod. He hadn't seen him. For years, he hadn't truly seen the man who had been his silent guardian angel. Leo had watched him achieve everything he ever wanted, and in return Harrison had made him invisible. The CEO slowly looked up from the letter, his eyes locking with Leo's son. The arrogant mask was gone, replaced by a raw, profound sense of shame and regret. He saw Leo in the young man's eyes. He saw the quiet dignity, the gentle spirit. He looked over at the half-finished email on his computer screen, the one that would ruin the lives of hundreds of employees. People with families, stories, and struggles he knew nothing about. People he had never bothered to see. With a trembling hand, he reached for his mouse. He didn't just close the draft, he deleted it. He looked back at Leo's son, his voice thick with emotion. "Your father," he said. "Your father was the greatest man I have ever known." And I never even knew his last name. The story of the janitor and the CEO reminds us that the most important people in our lives are often the ones we fail to see. The ones who clean our offices, serve our coffee, and hold the doors open for us.